Hello there, a very good morning and welcome to another edition of the Talk of the Town. Joining us this morning is economist Gihan Pathirana. So, there has been a lot of opposition against the EPF and ETF funds being used in this domestic debt optimization program. The government says that this is the best option that is available to us. There has been very limited discussions, at least with trade unions. But my question to you really is this the best possible way that the domestic debt optimization program in Sri Lanka could be done?
No, absolutely no. Well, especially given that there are so many other alternatives that they could have actually considered when it comes to bringing down the debt burden, especially the domestic debt burden, and not just the domestic debt burden, even the foreign debt burden. So we have, as a group of trade unionists and also civil representatives, have actually come up with few alternatives which would actually give a greater scope and greater relief to the government in terms of reducing the debt burden, other than slashing the only savings of the working class or the working people of the country after they actually retire from work. And this is obviously, we all know that this is the only savings and only source of funds that they have once they stop working, once they retire. And for the most of the working people, that is their only relief, or that is the only source of funds they have to the till the rest of their lives. So now the government has exclusively targeted these funds, while there are so many other options. For instance, now I'll just make a small comparison. Now recently or day before, Governor Nandalal said, now including us and certain other parties have been complaining or have been pointing out that around 45% of the total returns to the fund in the next 16 years will be slashed if this DDR program is 45% minimum of 45% of the next 16 years. The value will be slashed if the DDR is enacted, because this happens in few fronts, one on the interest rate reduction and the compounding rate which is affected, and on the other hand we have to take the terminal value of the interest rate loss. We have to put that together, and that comes to 45% of the.
But I think one of the main arguments that a lot of the leaders in Sri Lanka, or politicians, people in parliament who raise their hands in favor of this proposal are saying is the fact that usually when it comes to the EPF, and let's take an average person, how will that average person be affected by it? They build up this argument that if there's a person working in the private sector contributing to the EPF and ETF, come his retirement time, he will be able to withdraw the full amount of money that is due to him. There will be no reduction. People who are due to retire maybe in a month's time, 2 months' time, a year, 2 years, there will be no reduction in the amount of money that he receives at the end of his working period at the point of retirement. So what they're trying to say is that look here, we have a lot of money here in this fund, and that money is being invested in bonds and rolled over and over. So let's use this money, because that is the best way that we can have less of an impact on the economy of Sri Lanka in conducting this domestic debt optimization. And in the end, what's the harm? A working person who contributes to the EPF will get the amount that he is due to receive at the end of retirement without any deductions.
Yeah, but that is not the case. Now, what they mean by this, the amount that you contribute will be returned to you, is not how you actually look at when it comes to a retirement fund and the amount of funds that you actually withdraw at the point of retirement. Now, there is a interest component for your whatever the savings that you actually contribute on a monthly basis. Now, there is no deduction from the fund from your monthly contribution. That is quite clear. But that is not the issue here. The income to your fund actually accumulates over time through the compounding rate of interest. Now, when this interest will be brought down significantly due to the DDR that has been proposed. If I be more clear, now the central bank has clearly proposed they are going to reduce 0.1% of the GDP from the interest. That is 1,000th of the total national income reduced from your interest. And then on the other hand, 0.4%, the principal payments that are when the bond is maturing, that amount is extended over a period of 16 years. There are maturities also that are happening, but still, then again the total 0.5% of the GDP will happen in the next 16 years throughout. Now what we need to keep in mind is that GDP is something that is growing each year. So what accrues under this 0.5% will also increase at the same rate. So the same amount, the impact will be shown by that 0.5% on the fund itself. So when you are saying, look here, you are contributing some amount, nobody is going to slash that. What we need to look at is the total returns you would get without the DDR and the total returns you would get after the DDR. So say
so
for instance,
how much is the difference like? I mean,
yes, say the difference is huge. Now if say you are about to receive something like 10 million after in 2038
before DDR.
Yes, before DDR, if you are to receive around 10 million rupees, your net return, the funds you could actually withdraw before tax. Now there is a tax you have to pay when you are withdrawing at the point of withdrawal also. Before that tax, that would go down to somewhere around 6.3 million. So
let's just forget the tax component just to make it easier for our viewers to understand.
Right.
So what you're saying is,
so that's around 47% reduction from the total fund.
So what you're saying is somewhere in 2018, if a person is waiting to
2038.
2038, if someone is waiting to retire in 2038 and he is due to receive 10 million rupees before DDR.
Before DDR.
After
the
DDR, he will only be receiving 6.7 million.
6.3, somewhere around that. That is around 47% from the fund has been deducted. But that doesn't mean they will be slashing your contributions.
I understand.
The slashing will come through the reduction in the rate of return you will be getting, net rate of return. And it is the net rate of return which actually accumulates your fund, not your monthly contribution.
And that's a wrap of the Talk of the Town. It's back to the Morning Fix on Yes 101.